am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle. Shockphobia Fest.
Welcome to Prattle World. I'm your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan, and in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to Shockphobia Fest, a month-long celebration of All Hallows Eve's most frightening films and comic spooks. And today, we're back once again with Ria Carrogan. I was going to say Revolting Ria Carrogan, but that's rude, isn't it?
I would have really liked that, though.
Okay, we'll go back. We'll go back again. Revolting Ria Carrogan.
Yeah. Oh no, I should have done like a woo.
Ooh. There's no acting involved in this, is there? You're just there, ready to just to continue on, sort of existing when you're undead life.
Pretty much. That's how I feel most of the time.
Well,
don't have kids.
Don't have kids. Or it's up to you. You make that decision. You have the freedom to make it. We do
You'll
not
be tired forever.
Yes, I mean, I do quite enjoy reading the stories about parents regretting having kids, even though they absolutely adore them. They're going, yeah, maybe I wouldn't have if I knew.
Yeah, like it's not regret; it's understanding.
Yes,
that two opposing things can exist. That you're allowed to grieve your life beforehand and absolutely love your life afterwards as well. Best thing I've ever done. But I also really like sleep. So,
yes, that is good. That's some good shit. But even me in my one-bedroom flat, I struggle to grasp that. Maybe I need the Sandman to come visit.
I mean, to be fair, before I had her, I was shit at sleeping anyway. So I don't know why I blame it on my poor, wonderful, smart, emotionally intelligent daughter, when in reality, it's just me who's broken. So,
One of the things I really hate is when we go, oh yeah, I didn't sleep last night. And someone goes, why? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. I just couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's got to be a reason for it. Surely. You can't be talking about it without there being a reason. Did babies keep you up? Was there a noise? I did, knock on wood, I did have a mouse problem. That kept me up quite a lot.
Yeah, but I'm not cool with mice.
No, the people downstairs were actually feeding it. So that I think it was coming up here and doing all sorts.
Why were they feeding it?
Because they're weird, I guess. I don't know. They were sending them out to commit crimes. I don't know. Stealing food from my floor, I think mostly remnants.
This is a story about how you really needed to clean up after yourself.
Pretty much. And even now, I still need to do a bit of cleaning. But we're not here to talk about the horror story that is my flat. We are here again. It's Halloween. It's the first podcast of Halloween. And Ria will be here for another one as well later in the month. But we won't talk about that just yet. But we are here to talk about Trick or Treat, or Trick or Treat.
How are you pronouncing it? I say Trick or Treat.
Trick or treat, I think I'm going to say.
Why are you using that accent?
I don't know. I'm just
interesting.
I think I used that accent for the first time we talked about it, because we have talked about trick or treat. Oh, do trick or treat.
What is happening?
I don't know. It's been a long week. It's bank holiday weekend. We're recording this, but it's been a long week already. So me and Dan Burgess, we covered Trick or Treat the very first. It might have been the very first episode of Shockphobia Fest, way back, a few years ago now. And we compared that with Tales of Halloween, another anthology film, which I very much enjoyed as well. But obviously with the Clone Balls, that must be a winner. But I'm not going to spoil that here. Go and listen to that now, because it is an excellent podcast. But I will say I enjoyed both films. We have waited years and years for a sequel to Trick or Treat. and we still haven't received it. We haven't got it. Michael Dougherty, the creator, director, writer behind the film, it did make Krampus, so that was a big kind of Christmas horror film, which I quite enjoyed. But people are still screaming for a sequel to this film, and we're going to look actually at prequel, technically, to the Trick or Treat film. And every time you say that, you're shaking your head.
You're going to keep on doing it, aren't you?
Trick. I mean, it
Can
seems.
you try it in a different accent?
Trick or treat.
That's better.
Yeah, I could do
I
trick
prefer that.
or treat. My Bela Lugosi.
I think I prefer that to your weird country voice.
Weird country one. Country bumpkin voice. From us up north. Up here. Up north. We're all wrongs. We're all wrong'uns up here. Did I tell you I was an actor? Did you know that? Did you?
Oh,
ever...
are you? That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe you should tell us some more about that. That'd be really good.
Don't worry, Mike's got me on a podcast coming up for genuine chit chat. I'm going to be doing that, so I'm going to be talking all about the acting stuff and mostly the horror stories. I'll tell you most.
Yeah, I mean they're the best ones, aren't they? Really?
Exactly, they do make for good anecdotes. But yes, so we have Ria and myself have read Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat. We're never going to get through this.
Do the whole title in one of these accents.
Okay. Trick or Treat, Days of the Dead.
Oh, I enjoyed that. That was good.
Yeah, I've been practicing.
Like just by yourself.
Yeah, just by myself, just
doing
in
the toilets at work.
I literally did that as a kid, though. I'd watch like X-Men, and they'd have like some sort of Russian guy on there or a German guy on there, and they're very, it's very diverse cast of characters from all different places, and I would always try and do the accents.
Yeah. Nice.
As a child, obviously, they were very offensive and very strong accents. But over the years, I managed to kind of just to kind of reel back a little bit and make them less offensive. But yes, Days of the Dead is a comic book prequel to that film. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get onto that, I asked Ria what she wanted to do this Halloween. She was like, we've got to do Trick or Treat. And I said, I'm sorry, Ria, I've already done it.
And I'm a terrible friend, aren't I? That I didn't know.
Exactly. You should listen to every one of my podcasts religiously. I've listened to all of your Femme on Film. So
you mean all like 6 episodes, yeah?
Yeah, but I'm happy to keep waiting. I'm behind on a lot of other podcasts, but yours.
Oh God, I'm behind on so many.
So many. But I'm well up on yours. I'm ready. I'm ready to come back as well.
He's a smooth operator.
I try. But yes. So before we talk about the comic, we're going to talk. I just want to hear what you think of the film, because you obviously want to talk about that. I was actually going to do this on my own, and then I remembered. I was like, well, Ria said she wanted to talk about Trick or Treat, so I thought, hey, why not? Why the hell not?
Any excuse for us to have a chat, really, eh?
Absolutely. Living on my own, I do sometimes need a chat with people that are not in my own head or on the television. That's
doing
something
their
I do
accents
and me just talking back in their accents. Yeah, just like I'll just replicate it. I think that's kind of where the acting bug got me. I guess is probably just trying to do those accents. Like loads of people are like, "Oh, how do you do these accents? Do you shape your mouth in a certain way, or do you do this?" Or I was like, I just watch things and then I do it. Loads of people have all these acting techniques, and I was like, I'm very much like Ian McKellen in Extras. I just go, here I'm Dan, and here I'm a Nazi. I'm not any of those, and that's playing a Nazi, not being an actual Nazi. By the way, just to clarify, it's a role, it's a part. It's a part. Yes, reel that in. Make sure people know. Hopefully that bit of dialogue will not be like cut out of this and used in some sort of like hate crime against me. Like, he said he's a Nazi. He said it. He said, I am a Nazi on his podcast. It must be real. And I'd have to be like, here's the full podcast. Here's the transcription. I'm not. I played a part. Anyway, we're never going to get to the comic. As we've stated, it's not even about the comic anymore, is it? It's not even about Halloween. It's just about
chats.
Just our chats and my sad life. That's the true horror story.
Well, so you talk about yours, and then I'll talk about my fabulous life.
Absolutely,
and then even worse.
I love that. I love that. Women, as we were talking before, women being mean to me is my particular kink. So more of that in my life.
I have an automatic blind, goes down at sunset. So, my life's pretty sweet.
That is pretty cool. I did make comment on your automatic blind because I mean I didn't think of you as that, I don't know, technically savvy or having all those kind of gadgets and stuff. I don't know.
Do women not like tech?
No, not. I'm not saying anything like that. Dan is not a sexist, nor is he a Nazi. Just to clarify. Anyway,
Seriously, what is actually happening?
Yeah, I don't know. We're having fun. Well, we're having fun. I hope other people are having fun, or they're just going to be like, "No, had enough of this shit."
They're like, I just wanted to hear.
I just want to know if I want to read this comic or not. Is it any good? Why is this?
Days of the Dead. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. Oh God. I'll listen. I'll listen to the next one.
People slowly losing their minds.
Yes, basically. Well, the spirits of Halloween have infected us and made us playful and tricksy. But yes, Ria, tell us. Why do you like Trick or Treat so much?
Why do I like it so much? Because it's really good. So I remember watching it. Well, I say this. I presume I watched it with Jack, our friend Jack, my bro Jack, because we would always watch this sort of film together. And I have a vague sort of memory of us watching it together. I'm presuming that's the first time we've watched it. But then a few years later, it was hard to find, and I may have gone on some websites and found a way to watch it,
Yeah.
All legit.
All legit websites.
Yeah. And I feel like that was sort of the first time I really enjoyed it. Like, I remember watching it and enjoying it. I think, I was like sat there watching it on my laptop. I was like, this is just so much fun. And that is what the film is for me. I think it's a perfect mix of taking horror seriously, but also having fun with the genre. And that's why it's so good. I always forget the beginning story in Trick or Treat. I'm not going to do an accent. always forget the beginning story. So it starts and I was like, I don't remember this.
It's if I remember rightly, I was going to watch it the other night and then I
didn't have time.
It didn't happen. But it's the couple coming back from Halloween.
And he believes in all of he's superstitious about it all. She's not. He says like, don't blow out the pumpkin. That's it, isn't it? Like, don't take down the
decorations. Don't smash the pumpkin. You've got to leave it up to be protected against the spirits.
Yeah, and she, of course, does all of that and like takes down all the decorations and then gets murdered. But I was like, I feel like every time I watch it, I forget that beginning story, and you just get chucked straight in, and that's what I really like. It's like you're now along for the ride. Like, this is the opening. You're along for the ride. Go and enjoy it, and that's what's so good about it. And obviously we've got the little Halloween spirit Sam as well.
Yeah.
And I like Sam because he's not full scary doll. As you'll know from conversations with Scott, I don't like Chucky because I find dolls particularly upsetting. I find them very scary. There's a reason my child, who we're talking about, has only one particular doll that's not terrifying. And not the rest. She'll be like, a baby, and I go, nope, we're not having that. That is terrifying. None of this, Isle, is for you. We shall move on because Mummy is guaranteed to find it staring at her at night over the bed in my face, looking at me because dolls are terrifying. But sort of the little Halloween character, Sam, trick-or-treater type character, is like that nice blend of a Chucky doll, a real life child, and horror fantasy in a way that doesn't, and a pumpkin, in a way that doesn't, and gourds, that doesn't scare me too much. So I can enjoy it rather than wake up in fear that I'm going to get murdered.
I agree. I think dolls are fucking really creepy. I genuinely, any or like ventriloquist dummies. That's a whole horror genre all to itself. But I do like the mascot idea. I think he's sweet. He's kind of cute as well, but
he
also
is pretty cute,
also he's fucking brutal as well, like as the film shows.
But I like that, and I like he's like the right mix of cuteness and scary, and well, not scary, cuteness and violent. I think.
Yeah, it's kind of that, and again, you kind of see him, you're like, oh, he's all right, he's nice, you know. And I think that's Halloween, isn't it? You think it's nice and fun, but there's also some of the darker side to it as well, which I think it really balances out. I quite like the linking stories and the playing around with the time. Did you find that the crossing over of the stories as they bleed into one another?
Yeah, and it's done quite well. It's not clunky, and it doesn't feel shoehorned. So it's just sort of like, this is the story I want to tell. I want to have it all take place at the same time, or sort of the same time. Because obviously, you know, time's not all happening exact same time. Oh my God, I don't know where that's going. But as in, like, across one night is what I'm trying to say.
Ria's just waving. She's just waving.
This is like really good content for everybody.
It's not non-linear. It's a man-made construct. Yeah. Whatever you want to say.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going to be going. I was like about to like drift off into some like brain splurge about time. I was like, no, nobody needs that right now.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
So like that it takes place in once it's one night, isn't it? Funny enough, in Halloween, and it just doesn't feel. It feels it's well written enough that it doesn't feel shoehorned in.
Absolutely, yeah. I like all the segments. I think it's paced really well. I like that you almost don't know where it's going or which segment you're going to be in next, or you go back to one and you flash back to the other. I think there's a lot of surprises and twists and turns in it as well, like things you genuinely don't see coming.
Yes, and it's not repetitive for a film that's showing multiple stories on the same night, sort of about the same thing. It doesn't feel repetitive. Each story feels fresh and its own thing, and it just happens to be taking place at the same time.
And there's little clues and hints of where each of them take place, like where you see Sam, what he's doing, where he's at.
That's a great payoff at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. And for great set of stories, a lot of variety as well. But yeah, I think it's an excellent film. Like, it's really, really fun. Obviously, Michael Dougherty's gone on. He's written a lot of the X-Men movies. He's written, he directed the Godzilla King of the Monsters, did Krampus. So you'll have seen his work, even if you don't know his name. So he is about somewhere. But this is like trick or treat. It was a proper like cult film, because it didn't even get, I don't think it got a cinematic release, did it? I don't think so. And it's definitely one that I think Jack, in his delving into films that aren't necessarily mainstream, was like, I've heard about this, let's watch it. Whoa. Jack didn't do that until he heard my podcast.
All right, of course. You are the originator.
I'm the originator of all that. Like, nobody has ever looked up an obscure cult film before and done a podcast about it. I am the trendsetter. No, everyone else is a copycat. The rest of them are sheep. But yeah, it's OG. Yes, I'm on a mad bender tonight. I've had a coffee. I've had
an orange squash.
It's good. We're all good. Would you? What if there was a sequel? If there was a sequel to Trick or Treat? I've broken Ria. She's gone.
Yeah, if there was a sequel.
Shock Phobia Fest. Ria is now in shock.
Oh dear. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to say some really insightful things. Come on, everybody.
Go on. You're really good at this. Come on. Come on, Revolting Ria. Come on.
Yeah. So if there, what was the question you just said? If there was a sequel, and then we both laughed.
What was the question? Yeah. What would you expect from a sequel? Do you think it would be? Do you think they would go the same way? Do you think it would be on one night and they do it kind of non-linearly?
Yeah, I think they absolutely have to. And I think they've shown that when it's done well, it works. I want it to be different stories interwoven with little pumpkin Sam rocking around, causing some trouble, being creepy, but also cute. And I do think it'd be hard to do it now. I think it'd be really hard to do it now. I think Trick or Treat was made at that great time where, there wasn't too much going on with technology. There wasn't trying to be too smart with horror films and we all have computers and phones and stuff like that. So I don't think it would work set now. I think it works set in the past much better. I think it was too easy to fall into let's do some sort of shaky cam, people recording it on their phones, technology type thing. So I just don't think, and I think it's really hard for horror filmmakers to make this sort of film now because of technology. I think it's a real challenge, and I don't think anybody's really got to grips with it. I think there's some good horror thriller type films that are doing it, but as in pure horror ones, none of them really tend to work for me. So I do think it would be really difficult to make it now.
Yeah, there's always like a line or a thing that says, "Oh, my phone's out of battery," or "I can't get a signal," or there's all this sort of stuff. But I guess it's the same with like the car's not working. We've run out of fuel, or the bridge is out. All that sort of stuff. But I guess that's just the modern equivalent of that. But that's interesting. I didn't consider that. Do you think they should, much like this story we're going to talk about very shortly? Obviously, we're in different time periods. Do you think you would like to see it all the way back, like the beginnings of the Halloween traditions or early Halloween?
Yeah, and I think that's what's really strong about Days of the Dead. I think that it's really smart in the stories that they tell and how they're framed, that it does go back to, should we just start talking about witches?
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Demons, what else have we got there? We've got
cults. You've got cults and
yes,
worship, pagan.
And terrible people who go into native lands and murder people. And I think that's what's so interesting about it. It's bringing in different. I'm just flicking through it now. That's why I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. I think it's bringing in more interesting things. I like that it's centralized around American culture. I think that gives it quite a strong story to tell. So witches and then indigenous people. So I think that works really well for me. There's one story that I don't like.
Okay.
This. But I think, going back into the history, going back into the past, seeing the crimes that white men commit is really interesting. And I think it's
there's a lot. There's a lot of those.
I think it's so interesting that that's how it's been framed. These stories have been framed. Like, it's obviously a very conscious choice. So I think it's
the history of Halloween, parallel with the history of America.
Yes, Well, should we take each story then?
Sure,
should we
absolutely.
take it? Are you happy for us just to start?
Let's
your
go.
Podcast, and I'm just
actually. I'll tell you what. No, do it. That's what you're here for. This is the Revolting Ria takeover.
Yeah.
Before we do, I'm just going to read out. So this is by Legendary Comics. So Legendary are a film studio, and they have rights to various different things like Godzilla, and so they often make comic books out of their films or prequels or sequels, this is of one. So it's written by, or the story is by, Michael Dougherty, Todd Casey, and Zach Shields. It's written by Michael Dougherty, Todd Casey, Zach Shields, and Mark Adrayenko, I want to say. And we have the first story we're going to talk about, Seed, with art by Fiona Staples and colors. Yes, a woman. We got a woman. We got one.
No, it's Saga, Fiona Staples, Saga.
Oh, of course, I forgot. Yeah, you're a big fan. Colors by Jose Villarrubia. Then the next story, Corn Maiden, with art and colors by Stephen Byrne. Echoes, with art by Stuart Sager and colors by Guy Major. And Monster Mash, with art and colors by Zid. I believe that's how you say it, Z-I-D. And colors by Ricardo Rulo. But yes, let's go on to that first story. Seed.
Yeah, so Seed. So Seed is, well, we open up on, I don't know, do you want to describe what each story is about? Or?
So it's set in Ireland, and it's kind of during the kind of Witchfinder General era, isn't it? Where the witch hunters and they're just going, "You're a woman. Did you have a thought? Then you must be a witch.
You must be a witch.
Burn her, drown her, do something. You can't have ideas. Who would think of this?" So it's a lot of that. So we meet a young soldier. I think he's from. I'm going to say they're from England. I believe. I don't know the history.
It feels like that.
Yeah,
it feels like it's got a lot to say about
relations of certain countries.
We're not great. The English are shit.
Not so Great Britain.
Yeah. Perfect.
So there are obviously women and children and men being killed and burnt, and their heads are put on sticks. Some really gruesome imagery to go along with this very dark period of history. And he meets a young Irish lady called Bridget. I can't remember his name. I think it's. I'm sure you'll tell me, but she's Bridget, and they get to talking basically, and he's quite like the fundamentalist, isn't he? Well, I guess they both kind of are in a sense, but she's open to change and moving. And there's a really good line in it which I really liked, and it was, "One man's religion is another man's fairy tale."
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was an absolutely cracking line. I was like, that says a lot, doesn't it? But yes, and it's basically he gets to know her, tries to understand her, and she gets close to him. And then people, the other soldiers think that he's been bewitched, and the kind of story plays out there towards the end. But I won't spoil it too much just yet. But yeah, what did you think to the story and the artwork? And actually, before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about the framing device, because this is another anthology. We've done anthology horror before, and we do say that the framing device is one of the key components to a good anthology. So what do you think of this particular framing device?
Did you mean the young girl and her grandfather? Yes.
Yeah,
Halloween, it's young girl and her grandfather carving the jack-o'-lantern, and she's saying she doesn't want to go trick-or-treating.
Yeah, she's afraid of the dark.
Because she's scared. And so he says, "Well, let me tell you some stories." And then, for some reason, does not completely traumatize his granddaughter. She thinks all these stories are fantastic.
I love these. These are great.
These are great. Tell me more about how women were mutilated and murdered. Yay!
That's my favourite.
Yeah.
That's what I've got to look forward to.
And well, we'll get to the end. We'll talk about the end framing. So yeah, I like it. I think it's a nice opening. I like that it's not over long. It's literally one page, and then we just get cracking into the stories. But I do like that, the first story is called Seed. He's carving into the pumpkin, filled with seeds, obviously seeding things in her mind. All that, like, it's nicely done. It's like, oh, people know how to do storytelling.
You'd hope so.
You would, wouldn't you? And then we get into Bridget's and Thomas's story. So, which is basically it's a love story, right? It's a Halloween love story.
Yeah, it's a Romeo and Juliet tale. Two people from star-crossed lovers coming together and learning to understand each other and love each other.
And much like Romeo and Juliet, she's way cooler than he is.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's also awesome. I really like it. I think. I mean, unsurprisingly, because it's Fiona Staples, it's really beautiful, simple, but everybody in it is gorgeous, like, beautifully drawn. I like that it's not exploitative. So she's being tortured, she's being whipped, she's got her top off in some scenes, some panels, but we're not seeing, it's not about, oh, look, I've drawn tits, let's look at that. She's not sexualized, she's not overly sexualized, which I think is easy. So it turns out she is a witch, funnily enough. But witches aren't bad, everybody. Witches are good. And so it doesn't fall into that trope of sexy witch seducing a man and him coming on her side. It's actually they have intellectual conversations and she interests him that way. I mean, obviously she's beautiful, he's handsome, but I feel like from the story, that's not what the connection is about. It's about she's teaching him something about the world, about the natural world, about why witches and witchcraft is important, why it's connected to Halloween, which I think is really nice and could be done in such a way that feels like it's fulfilling a fantasy for somebody.
It's definitely like a theological discussion going on as well, because he's like, well, what do you know about right or wrong? You're a witch, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You must be evil. You've killed kids. It was like, yeah, we didn't kill anybody. We just left out some food for these dark spirits. You know.
Funny enough, we don't do that. What have you been doing though?
Yes, and she like gestures to all these heads on spikes and things. But yeah, it's I like it. I don't know if it's the strongest tale in but I like it because it's simple, it's basic, and it kind of eases you into the rest of the stories that get considerably darker, especially the second one, especially. But yeah, I like it. I think the art's lovely. I like in all of them that we get like much like in the film, we get Sam kind of lurking in the background a lot, which I think is really cool, and it kind of hints at things as well, like it's always been here, it's always looked like this, it's always been, you know, it's an older god that, you know, does that, protects them and follows the rules. That's one of the things I really liked about the film as well, that it has these rules that if you break them, you know, if you follow the rules and the, you know, what you're supposed to do on Halloween, then you're fine. But if you break them, then you're in some serious shit. And again, in all of these stories, somebody breaks the rules, and it's doesn't necessarily end well for them always. Well, maybe the last story, but we'll get into that.
I think I was wondering what you think about the end of Seed as well, where the couple die. I'm assuming we're allowed to talk about spoilers.
Sure, yeah.
And the children from, say, the village come along, and there's a young girl, and she picks up pumpkin seeds of what's been left. And then we see her going on a boat. Do we think they are going to America, and it's the seeds for the next story?
Well, yeah, I mean, the introduction talks about connective tissue, and I don't think it's as blatant, like we said, with the framing devices of the film. But I think it's kind of like, yeah. And again, a lot of these, you know, a lot of the kind of deaths and stuff end up being like pumpkins and vines and things. So,
and I love all those visuals. It's so nice. He has a dream, doesn't he, Thomas? He has a dream. She's coming to heal him. I'm probably saying this wrong, so I better flick through, or you can correct me. But he has a dream, and it's all the vines are coming out of his body. And then in the next panel, it's the vines break up the panel, which I think is really nice. It like breaks up into sort of 9 different scenes, and it's all pumpkin vines that break up rather than like the traditional white lines,
borders and stuff. Yeah, I love that. I think it was really good, and this is when again the other soldiers think he's been bewitched and poisoned, and she's like, "What? He's ill? Oh my god!" And I think it's probably due to the stress and him, you know, going against his own god and liking this woman, and, you know, questioning his beliefs and his faith. I think that kind of affects him, you know, mentally, physically, and it all comes.
I mean, it would do. Like, imagine, but you know, I would say he's early 20s at the eldest, right? And he's been conscripted into what is basically an army, a religious army that is murdering people. I mean, you would go into that in all the best faith. Like, you assume he's gone into it because that's what you do, and you're told that you go join you and you're going to get these witches, and then the reality is that you're murdering women and children. You would hope that you would be having a crisis of faith, right?
I'll be like, oh,
not quite what I signed up for.
Oh, I'm not sure about this, guys. You know, I don't know. Are we the baddies?
Classic.
But yeah. I think I quite like that ending, because it is like they're going to the new world, and it's kind of an immigrant story. I like that. And again, like you were saying, the formation of America in line with this Halloween tradition. You know,
well, and she's taking the pumpkin seed. So is she taking the spirit, the legend of Sam to America?
Quite
like,
literally.
Was he confined to his own legends and fables in Ireland, and she is literally spreading his spooky little seeds into different cultures?
Yeah, I think you could say that, because it's a widespread phenomenon now. Like the UK, we celebrate it. Else in other countries they celebrate it where it's not really an original thing, or it wouldn't have been there naturally. But yeah, it's I think that's a really interesting idea. Yeah,
because we see across all different cultures, right? So like myths, legends, fables, scary stories that we tell each other. Through different cultures, they're all, well, not all, but they are often the same, but different entities, or told in a slightly different way. But will-o'-the-wisps exist in almost in folklore, in every.
There's always a creation myth, isn't there?
Yeah, all of that sort of thing. But in this instance, is it that he's literally a little Irish demon, if that's what we want to call him? Is he a demon? I'm not convinced. He's almost like a god or a spirit. Is he like the little Halloween spirit specifically for Ireland? But he gets to then go out into the rest of the world because these people go and travel into the rest of the world. So, we see in the next story that they're in Corn Maiden, that there are indigenous people who have their own spirits.
Yeah.
Did he exist, or does he then go there and become one of their spirits?
I think you're thinking about it quite literally, where I was just like, I think it's kind of, more like just a theme flowing through. Or is he, it's not, I don't think he's literally coming from the seeds, but I think the idea and those traditions and everything they do is kind of passed on. But I like either way. I think either way works. Like you said, like it can be his literal essence is in the seeds, or it's just those ideas that passed on, or that infect and dwell in the dark recesses of the human mind. Yes. No, I enjoy the story. I like the elements of it, and I will say, I think as an anthology comic, I think this is pretty solid for all the stories.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't think they're all strong. I think this and maybe the third one are probably the weakest for me. I think. Well, actually, I don't know, the last one maybe as well. We'll get to it. Do you want to talk about the next story? Which is...
Corn Maiden.
Yeah, Corn Maiden.
Which is the best one.
It's the best one. Yeah. So
the best one.
Easily the best. So a downhill from here. But yeah, let's talk about this. You were talking just about the indigenous people. So we're now transplanted, kind of, was it the new frontier Western type times?
Yes, and so we're introduced to, I'm not going to remember everybody's name. So a young girl called Sarah and her father, who is expanding railroads, I believe.
He is, yes.
Railroads, yeah. Good. I should have taken some time just before chatting to read it. And he's a gold man. He wants his gold. That's what he's basically.
He wants to make money.
That's what he's into.
The mother's died, so she doesn't really have any friends.
He's taken her with her. Like, you presume that if her mother hadn't died, they would not be on this journey with him. She is somewhat, you get the impression that she's intelligent. She's sat there reading books. She's educated, which for a girl at the time is quite unusual. And she's interested in what is going on. She wants to have a relationship with him. So she wants him to read books with her. She wants him to spend time with her. But he's just interested in making his money.
I love the bit where they're like, she's using them big words again.
Yeah.
Better shut her up. She needs to know her place. Again.
What an
I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm an actor. I'm a former actor.
And I do accents, don't you?
I do accents. I like them while I was a kid watching TV because I didn't go outside.
If you want me to do some voiceovers, I'll do that freelance.
I'll do it. You do it for free. You pay me, whatever. But you can always hear my weird and wacky accents.
Paid.
Pay in some form. I need some form.
No, just money.
Yeah, just give me money. Just all of the money.
Don't sell yourself short. I'm not having that. Just paid him money. I want him to do voiceovers for some fantastic adverts, which clearly he's primed for.
Absolutely, I could do it. I've got a silky smooth voice coming through the airwaves.
Or you could just do like the accent you just did and be like the Milky Bar Kid.
I could be the Milky Bar Kid sound like that?
No, but it sounded really funny in my head. Just like a little kid,
I'm the Milky Bar Kid. Hello.
Are you doing your
voice?
Come to
the I'm Milky Bar Kid.
Yes. That'd be amazing. Just dubbed over a little blonde kid.
I want to shoot some Native Americans because that's the white patriarchy.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, there you go. Again, barely talked about the comic in this, but yes. Anyway, Corn Maiden is the best.
Yes,
best
it's
one.
the best one.
I agree.
And
carry on.
He wants to build. There's indigenous people who are on the land. He's all like, "Oh, I'm so good at talking them to move. I'm going to do that." Look at me, I'm silver-tongued, both me and the fella whose name I can't remember. And there is the leader of the indigenous people called Wolfjaw, which is the best name ever.
Great name. I
think fucking legend.
I think they even said that in the book. That is an awesome name.
That's so good. I go, that's quite a name. You'd be like, hell yeah. I already know whose side I'm on. I knew this at the beginning, but then when he called himself Wolfjaw, I was like, yes.
Sold.
Done. I am on your side. And he also has a young daughter, and Sarah makes friends with him whilst her dad is trying to negotiate them moving their village. And she sees a mysterious figure in the corn. So it's like they've got lots of corn around their village. And it is and she stumbles across, I can't remember what they call her in the
it's like it's like a female shaman, isn't it, or something?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. I think there was a name, but I can't remember. Maybe I'll look it up while you're talking.
And Wolfjaw's daughter sort of explains that she's there and not to mess around with it. Gives Sarah a small token, which it's like a little doll, a not scary one, that looks very similar to somebody else we know. And says it will protect you from evil spirits, and off they go. They're friends. Yay!
They do say shaman. It is shaman.
Oh, good.
So,
excellent.
So take off the female that I added for no reason.
Actually, yeah, good point. That was super sexist.
Absolutely.
Thank you for acknowledging it. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I admit I shouldn't have said that, and I just thought they used a different word. That's all. But if it is shaman, shaman's fine.
Excellent. And off they pop back to their camp, bad people's camp. God, I'm so shit at describing things, aren't I?
No, you're not. That's fine.
This is like the longest description of this story. And do you remember that first episode of Ms. Marvel's Musings that I did? And like, Ria, you described it, and I just ignored all my notes and just rambled on. This is what I'm doing. I'm doing the exact same thing.
No,
anyway, so what happens is Sarah goes back. And she's like, hey, I really like these people. They're awesome. They're way better than my stupid father. He sucked balls. She goes back. They have a celebration that night, and she feels an affinity for the tribe. And she sees spirits and has the best time ever because the tribe is awesome. Her dad finds out that she did it, and she thinks she's going to get in trouble. And he said, no, let's go. You go back. You have a party with them before we ask them to move.
He's not that bad. He's not that bad, really.
He's not. He understands. He's really listened to his daughter.
Yeah.
He understands why this is important, and gets her to go back with some supplies. And all the supplies are poisoned, and everybody in the tribe dies. And we find out that he was also willing to sacrifice his daughter for he assumed she would eat it and die as well, eat it and drink it and die. She does not, and she uses the Halloween spirits to fuck them up.
Basically, yeah. So I think the shaman was conjuring something. They feed the shaman as well, and she dies halfway through her spell, if you want to call it that. And then I think she takes on that essence of the Halloween spirit or whatever the spirit is, and goes and shoots vines out of everybody.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Pumpkins and vines popping out of everybody, and it's great. And then you see Sam stood next to her, watching on menacingly. I've loved it. Great ending. Great,
so good.
Great story. It's simple. It's it's straight, A to B plot, but it works and it's solid. The artwork's fantastic. It's beautiful. Yeah, and then the bad guys get their comeuppance, and yeah, just awful people.
Yeah, and it's so great. it's obvious after you've read it that he was going to sacrifice his own daughter, but it's not obvious at the time. Like I spoil things for myself all the time because I've watched so many films.
Don't worry, I
so many
spoil
TV
things for
shows.
other people.
But there's a film called Old Boy, and I, from the very beginning, from about 20 minutes in, went, I know exactly who that person is and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying this to show off, but as in, I ruin shit for myself all the time.
I am the same. And
I hate it. And so I try not to overthink things now because I'm very much, I'm here for the journey now. And what I loved about this story is I was there for the journey. And after reading it, it was so obvious that's what he was going to do. He was going to poison his own daughter. But at the time when I was reading it, I didn't know. And I was like, yes, this is how good the storytelling is, that I wasn't thinking ahead of any of that stuff. I was just here for it and enjoying it. And I thought that's often quite unusual for me. So I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I love it. I think, again, like obviously we've Prey has just come out and I absolutely adored that film.
Watched it yet.
Have you not? Oh,
no,
well,
it's on out. We're waiting to watch it. So when we've got time.
Now you've read this, I think you'll love it just as much, or you'll go back and think about this story when you see it, because there's a lot of parallels and things in there as well. I think it's not the same, obviously, but there's something there. I think you'll like the kind of indigenous people story in that and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was great. I thought, it's the best one. I loved it. Just great. And yeah, it was a nice thing with the mixing of cultures, because they're like, oh, well, because she thought she saw her mother there. And so she's reaching out. Like, she used to celebrate Halloween with her. The father never does. They never do all the things they used to do together. And it's like, oh, well, and they welcome her into the tribe. And they say,
of course, Wolfjaw's tribe is immediately like, come.
Yeah, you're nice. You're
come
great.
Party with us, come be with us. Like you understand, you're willing to share, and that's going both ways. They want to share knowledge and spirituality both ways.
Exactly, because they share each other's culture as well. They don't just go. It's like every year where people are like, oh, Muslims want to cancel Christmas. They've never wanted to fucking cancel Christmas. You're just being racist.
Yeah.
I remember they put out a post years ago, like a social media post, and it was like, I don't know, but there was an account for like Islam or something. And it was just like, oh, we don't want to cancel Christmas. Enjoy your holiday. We will enjoy ours as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly,
peace and love.
Yeah.
And I was just like, just look at that, you fucking racist. Anyway, great story. Moving on, I think, unless there's anything else you want to say about that.
No, it's the best one. Yeah. If you don't have time to read the whole thing, and you should do, it's not long. If you don't have time to read the whole
absolutely,
just read this one. It's fantastic. The art is beautiful. There's the color is fantastic. So there's nighttime scenes by the fire and everything's in a red glow. But the most beautiful part is this pink, this sort of these reds and pinks that they use towards the end when Sarah's getting her revenge on her father. And it's just beautiful. The colouring is just absolutely stunning. So it's gruesomely beautiful.
I agree. That's a great way to term it. I think you can get a lot out of this story. Whoever you are, wherever you're from, I do recommend it. But yes, let's move on to the next one. Echoes. Yeah, not a fan
of this one. No,
okay,
not at all.
Tell us why.
It's really boring.
I tell you what, I did.
So mean, because it's beautiful.
Yeah,
the art is ridiculous. It is stunning, and everything is so beautifully drawn and coloured. But I just didn't feel the story at all. And I think it's a disservice that it goes after the one before. I think that's the problem.
I think
that was so good.
I think anything that follows that story is going to struggle. I do like what you were saying about the formation of America and these key points in history of America, and I think the whole McCarthyism aspect of this story was the most interesting part. You've got this mayor who is going. There's a man in a devil mask, a devil worshipper, killing people, stabbing women in the park, and it's horrible. The devil of such and such, and he's like, yeah, we need to, all these people, the outcasts, the alternative people in society, we need to lock them up or kill them or ruin them in some way, and that I think plays really well. It made me think of have you seen Angel Heart with Mickey Rourke? It's there. It's not. I won't spoil that film, but it's quite similar in that it's a noir story that kind of dips its toe in the supernatural, and there's a lot of aspects that I found quite similar with this. The artwork, I think, varies from page to page. I think some of the pages are amazing, and I think the other ones look a bit rushed sometimes. I think if it's a big splashy image, I think those are better. Like the lady who comes into the PI's office, those images, the image of the cult when they're holding up the dagger, some really great. But I think some of the ones where it's that the borders and everything and the cutting between these little segments, the little panels, those I think are the roughest, because it's almost a little too scratchy during those.
And I found it quite messy. I found it quite hard to follow. I was sort of like, okay, where is my attention supposed to be right now? Where do you want it to be? How does this fit into the storytelling? Oh, I've read this thing. I should have been looking at that thing. And I found that quite difficult.
Yeah, and I'm like yourself. I'm an avid comic book reader, and I usually kind of by now I kind of go, okay, like this, like follow these panels. Oh, this is the direction it's going. And usually, if you've done a good job, you can tell. But yeah, it was all over the show with the pages with more panels were the worst ones, and the ones that really took me out of the story, I'd say. Again, I don't hate the art, but it was. I also felt it was a little bit like. Bill Sienkiewicz, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. I felt like it was like a bargain bin version of him a little bit. No disrespect to the artist. I think he's very good, but it's like, if you've seen Bill Sienkiewicz, you've seen this. So it was just, and it just wasn't quite that for me. But we've not talked about the story. So the story.
Oh yeah, we haven't.
the art, and I don't like it. So the story is a PI who lost his family in a car crash. He's very he's a mopey, he's an alcoholic, blah, 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 hates Halloween, not a big fan. And a woman approaches him and says, my sister's been killed by this devil character that's going around murdering people that the mayor mentions, and you've got to find her. And she was all kind of mixed in with this witchcraft kind of thing. Here, take this owl pendant. It's supposed to protect you. My sister told me it protect you and maybe show you things. You could see through their eyes because they're the protectors of the night or something. And then he basically goes and investigates. But on the way, he has various hallucinations, sees things and thinks and sees beyond the veil and sees the true evil in people or what they look inside, how they look, how they appear. And that's kind of the story as it goes on, but it gets a little bit deeper towards the end. But it's your classic kind of Maltese Falcon noir type story, but tied in with Halloween and a bit more of the supernatural. But you said it was the writing and the story didn't grab you. What in particular?
Really simply, I just didn't think it was that interesting.
Yeah.
I think, so it's the mayor who is actually this is when I've got the story all wrong, who is actually
you're right,
devil who's murdering everybody.
Yeah, he's trying to drum up that hatred towards these people he wants to get rid of.
Just a bit of like, it's been done before. It's didn't really elicit any sort of emotion in me, and I really disliked the ending of. But it wasn't her. She was dead all along. I was like, no, I'm not here for it. And I just don't think it was particularly coherent compared to the others.
No, I think you are right. I think it is a very much like, I think, it's a very just noir supernatural. Like we did Cast a Deadly Spell earlier this year for Wizard Month, and it's a worse version of that, really. Unfortunately, and that really embraced the kind of world building, the ideas and stuff. But I do like the McCarthyism aspect of it. But and I love noir, I love horror.
So that's it. I love film noir so much, but it just wasn't hitting the sweet spot for me. It just wasn't getting. It felt long as well. It felt really long.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt the length of this one. Yeah, and it just wasn't. It was a lot. I think it was a lot they were trying to fit in such a short amount of time as well.
Actually, maybe that's what it is. You're right. Like maybe it is just too much. They're just putting too much in there. Maybe if it was. Because then there's this whole cult thing, and it's like, oh, but we're not really bad, and all of this sort of stuff. Maybe if that wasn't there, maybe if it was just him gumshoeing around with the owl and seeing spooky things, and then finding out it was the mayor without it being. I felt like there were like 5 twists in it, and I was like, I don't need this many twists. This is too many.
I guess, yeah, there are quite a lot of twists,
and 5 sounds really short. It sounds like hardly any, but it's a lot. And if you're going to watch a film, that's a lot of twists, right? You'd be like, for fuck's sake, stop.
I mean, there's
stop twisting.
Yeah. And, so you've got the girl's dead. The person is the mayor. The people that you think behind it are not behind it at all, and they're trying to help. There's the bit where he talks to the guy who works at the bar, and then he turns into a demon, and then he turns into a bin bag. So that's like 3 twists there.
It's just, and that's
and he sees his dead family, and then they're not there. He has a car crash, then he's fine. He's picked up, turns into a bin bag.
It's just, and it's so really funny. There's just a lot. There's just a lot going on.
There is. I agree. But yeah, I think if it had,
let's turn it into bin bags.
You know what? Less people need to turn into bin bags. Honestly, completely. Oh, what a bin bag!
There's just something so funny about the word bin bag. I've never realised before.
Well, now you know the pure
it's
hilarity.
So mundane, but the idea of it's bin bag so good. Anyway, so yeah.
And we have another shaman in this, don't we? And we have a bit more connective tissue slightly. And again, Sam turns up in the hallucinations. And I forgot to mention in the first story in Seed that he picks up the pumpkin in a bag, and it shows as the same stitching as his sack mask face as well. I thought that was quite cool. And it's just these little kind of cool little nods and things. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't think it's the strongest one, but I think it could have been better. I like the ideas and what they're trying to say, but I think they needed more room to breathe. I interviewed Amy Chu a while back, and she said one of the challenges they give you when you're learning to write, is they say, you need to make this story. You need to make a 10-page story or a really short story, and most people struggle to keep it down to those set pages. But she didn't, and that's the problem with this. I think it's just a little too long, or it's not long enough, or there's too much you're trying to force in when you could just keep it relatively simple. Like the next tale is really simple, really basic, and it works because of that. But yeah, no, I agree. Speaking of the next tale, Monster Mash. Let's
go on, do it. As if
the
you're doing
Monster Mash. Got the accents. You're getting all the accents out of me tonight. So the Monster Mash. Let's. This is a little fun one. It's a cheeky one. It's not too dark and disturbing, but I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this one. I think it's really nice. So we go back to the grandfather and his granddaughter, don't we?
We do, yeah. But it's more like a bookend, because they don't really turn up in the other two, do they? They're not like, oh, here's another story of this. So yeah, it's probably more of a bookend, arguably. But yeah, tell us about this one.
So it's 2 young boys who. So do you think they're part of like a weird religious little town that's like really controlling or weird, or do you think it's just the one boy's dad who is the priest?
Well, it reminded me a little bit. Speaking of Halloween films, you on the Pop Gorillas did all the Halloween films not so long ago, and it reminds me of a couple of those films where they ban Halloween. They kind of like say,
yeah,
"Oh,
it feels like that, doesn't it? Yeah,
there's a little bit of that."
It's like a weird little religious town.
Yeah, and it's not unlike Haddonfield as well. The kind of the ideas behind it and the people that are there, and the priest father, the evil priest father, looks exactly like Peter Cushing,
which I was going to let you talk about because I hadn't read it. And I was like, that has to be deliberate.
Yeah, I was like, I've probably spoiled it a little bit, just showing his face. But
I mean, it's fine. A face is not a spoiler.
Well, I'm that trained by Tonya now. I just think everything's a spoiler. Every bit of truth I give out is a spoiler. That's a spoiler. That's a spoiler.
My name is Spider Dan. That's a spoiler.
Spoiler. You shouldn't talk about your own title in your podcast. No, we love you, Tonya. I respect you. I'm walking on eggshells sometimes.
Yeah, you keep him in line, Tonya.
Yeah, you do that. In line. You do that. I'm sure she'll have a lot of things to say in this week's podcast at large, She-Hulk podcast at large. Comics in Motion available now. Go.
Listen to Tonya be awesome.
Yes, exactly. And I'll just be there. I'm the human bin bag. In that podcast, that's me, the human bin bag. Tonya and the human bin bag. Anyway. Monster Mash, yes. So yeah, this father is he's very. They catch these kids doing some pranks on Halloween, standard.
Yeah, so Halloween sort of seems to be banned, doesn't it? And they have church lock-ins every Halloween, so all the townspeople go. So weird. This is what I mean. Is it like some weird culty town? So they go. And two young boys are dressed up in Halloween costumes as like little monsters running around, doing a spot of light vandalism and having a grand old time.
Yeah, absolutely. When do you think this one's set as well? Is this like, because we learn at the end one of the boys is the grandfather. So do you think we thinking like 60s, 70s?
Like 60s, yeah. I thought 60s. It feels kind of 60s to me.
I think the religious aspect to it made me think, oh yeah, because obviously like 60s was a lot of experimentation going on, a lot of ideas free flowing. So yeah, it does feel like that it's like, no, we can't have any of that. That's not American. That's not right. It's not God. It doesn't serve God or, that almost puritanical belief. But it's basically just a little, they escape. They're locked
down.
Yeah,
so one of them is the child of the mad priest man of Peter Cushing, and they run off. So what they call James and Rory, so they run off as they do. Well, no, they don't run off, do they? So they get in trouble and monsters, Halloween monsters come out and start attacking the townsfolk. And the boys don't want to be attacked. So they put their costumes back on, and then the monsters think that the boys are one of them.
Yes, that's right. Completely forgot. I thought they got locked up or something, but no, you are absolutely right. And yeah, it kind of just, at least I like a good story. It doesn't like feel like it has to wait around. Like it just kicks off and gets going.
It's so mad. It's like he slaps his son because he's a fucking dickhead, and then all the monsters come out, and I'm like, "Yes, monsters, too bloody right."
And then they
start trying to eat everyone.
The sheriff. I think the sheriff is missing a hand later. Yeah. I think
I'm on the side of the monsters,
and that's what kind of happens is they follow the monsters to a kind of meeting place, to another kind of ritual. There's another kind of shaman, witch type. And they kind of like, okay, we're monsters now. So they literally just do whatever they want. They become the monsters. And again, it's quite similar to the last story as well. It's kind of, there's this, again, the theme is running through this. And they just follow them. They do whatever they want. They have fun. They're like, just go with it. The kid who's the priest's son is like, just go with it. Just roll with it. Whatever. Let's have fun. And the other one's like, I'm not sure. And there's this, and I'm worried. And what happens? And look at my hands. What's going on with my hands?
Yeah, I'm that kid.
Yeah,
I'm very much that
kid. Stop questioning anything.
Following the rules because I really like rules.
I like rules. There's place for rules, and then there's place for having fun. But yeah, what happens at the stroke of midnight? They kind of realize and they get the gist that they're going to fully turn into monsters, creatures of the night. And one's like, the one who likes the rules, that you, Ria and her rules. I've got rules.
Ria's rules. Revolting Ria's rules.
He's like, well, take off your costume quick. And the other kid's like, no, I like
this. It. I like being a monster.
I like doing whatever I want and being this and living this lifestyle. This is me. And he keeps it on, and then he is enveloped by this large Grim Reaper figure, and then grows these massive bat wings and flies off.
And his friend's like, what am I going to do with that, my best mate? And he's like, you'll be all right. Just go with it, dude.
Just go with it. Let's go.
Love it. It's like, see you later. I've got wings.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I mean, to be fair, that would be me too. I'd be like, I got wings. See you later. Like,
no, but you wouldn't have them because you have your rules. You wouldn't go that far. But then we end the book on the bookend of going back to the grandfather and the granddaughter, and he's convinced her to go out. Her friends are here, and they're off, and they're going to go trick-or-treating. And it ends, and he says, hello, old friend, I think, or something like that.
Yes.
And it's the Grim Reaper, and he envelops him, much like his friend. So he's obviously the child from the story, that last story, and he's been taken away, and he's I guess we assume he's becoming a monster like his mate.
And we see, don't we, that when his granddaughter's running off, she's running off with her friends, and then standing there behind the friends is Sam.
Yes.
In his little costume, and the granddad's saying goodbye, and then his friend's shadow goes over the moon, and he's like, yeah, all right, happy Halloween.
Yeah. What a way to end it.
Yeah.
Would you recommend this?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. It was so much fun to read. I really enjoyed it. I thought, apart from the third story, all of them are great. All really well written and entertaining, all beautifully drawn, although I do agree with you with the third one as well, that it's not as it could be.
No, I think
it does feel a little bit rushed.
Yeah.
I think
I still
as a horror fan and as a trick-or-treat fan, I kind of feel like it's essential reading.
Well, there you go. Ria says it's essential reading. Ria's reading.
Ria's reading.
Ria's required reading.
Revolting Ria's required reading.
There we go. I agree. I think it's a really solid anthology. I don't think even the one we don't like, there's still something to it.
And I've read things that are worse than it.
Absolutely, 100%. But we're here to critique. But yeah, I do recommend it. It's available currently on Comixology. I know that they've released I think it's a 20th anniversary edition, which is a hardcover, and it includes the original comic book adaptation of the film, and also contains Days of the Dead. I got that for Dennis's daughter for her birthday or something. I got it then because she's a fan of the film, so I was like, right, she'll love this. So I'm glad I read the stories as well, and I've loved them as well. So yes, I agree with Ria's recommendation. And yeah, that's it. So Ria, where can everybody find you this All Hallows Eve?
Oh, love it. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I want to talk anything horror, ever, always. So this has been really good. And also, thank you for keeping us to time, because I feel myself rambling.
Yeah, don't worry.
A lot more to say.
We've run over a little bit, but not by too much. But
where can you find me? So at Ria Carrogan on Twitter and Instagram, at Fem on Film. I think it's at Fem on Film Pod on Twitter. Just go and find me there and come and say hi and talk about films and smashing the patriarchy and releasing dongs and horror films.
All about releasing those dongs.
Yeah. As Alison made me, the lovely, lovely Alison, who's been on many things before, made me clarify on Monday, in films and TV and media, not just on the street, because if you do that, I will punch you in it.
That's a sex crime. So don't do those things, please, ever in your life. Yes. So you're a pop gorilla as well, so you can go and check out those podcasts.
Oh, and Halloweeny. we will be doing something for Halloween, as we do every year. So last year we did the Halloween films. For Friday the 13th this year, we did all the Friday the 13th films, which was horrendous. That sucked. And we are going to do Halloween season, where we're taking some franchises and splitting them up between us and reviewing.
Nice.
So come join us in October for that.
Excellent. It's a very binge-worthy podcast. I always just stick it on and just let it roll. And you've got hours and hours of great content, spoiler-free as well. So if you're a person who doesn't like
I always
spoilers...
forget that bit, and then I have to be reminded that Ria, you're not doing spoilers.
Oh well,
because I write them. Well, I write notes, and then in classic Ria fashion, ignore my notes completely.
Fair enough.
And then just come along and just go blah 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 blah.
Same.
And forget everything. So it's really good. I am the least professional of the gorillas. The other three are all amazing. And then there's just me, who just pops up for the seasons and just says the random shit that's on my mind.
Yes, you also got a new member as well, Dan, who's great. I really like his contributions as well. They're brilliant.
I'm indoctrinating him with Halloween. I'm so sorry, Dan.
Sorry, Dan.
I don't know why we're forcing you to watch these films. Sorry,
Tony. Sorry, Jack. It's all your problem. It's not my problem. I'm not going to watch them. But yeah, really good, really good stuff. So you're also on the Comics in Motion. You're going to be on there forever, doing all sorts of different things. But yeah, specifically check out Femme on Film. That's my favorite one. So
thank you.
That's all right. But yes, so we'll leave it there. So you can find me on Facebook. It's at Secret Bores. On Twitter, it's at Dan_Bores. Instagram, it's Spider Dan Secret Bores. Review, like, share, subscribe, comment, etc. Don't forget to use the hashtag Prepare for Prattle when you interact with us. If you want to join the Prattalion and to be briefed in full on the Secret Bores, swing over to Prattle World at www.spiderdanandthesecretbores.com. Just for Mike, it's BORES. I'd like to thank my patrons, including Mike Burton, I Am Jack's Musing, Simon Cotton, Paul Meller, Max Burns, Scott Hodgson, Angry Annie Reviews, Tonya Todd, and Tony Farina. So many now.
What a great group of people. You should have all of them on for a round table on something.
I mean, I'll be honest, I struggle with we've struggled tonight with just two guests.
Yeah, that's true.
Let alone, one guest and one host. I could call yourself a guest. I'm a guest. I'm like, no, literally, they're just a guest. I'm just a guest here. I do everything. I do it all. I think so little of myself. I'm just a bin bag, a human bin bag. That's me. But thank you guys for your continuing donations. It's very much appreciated and helps Prattle World keep on turning. And if you ever find yourself in a position to help the podcast and this human bin bag, please consider it. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know we've not talked too much about the comic. We have spoilt it. We haven't spoilt it. Whatever. Go read it. It's excellent. It's really fun. So go pick up Trick or Treat, Days of the Dead this Halloween. Thank you, Ria. Goodbye, everybody.